Hey everybody, welcome to the 64th Songbike Guitar Q&A live stream. How you doing? Hope you had a great week. I had a pretty good week. The weather's beautiful. Played some guitar. Life is good. I hope you're doing well. I'm here for your questions. I should introduce myself. My name is Jonathan. I'm here for your questions. Should you have a question, put a bunch of question marks in advance so I know your question is aimed at me. In between your questions, I think we got a really good show. Between you and me, got some cool stuff to talk about today. In no particular order. Trust me, this is not the order. We're going to talk about octave playing a melody or playing a riff, but playing it in octaves. We're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about getting disoriented. Whoa, no GPS. Getting disoriented on the guitar. It's a good thing. We're going to use Sweet Jane to kind of give you a power chord test using Sweet Jane by Lou Reed in the Velvet Underground. We are going to do another guitar song of the week, play along, sing along. It's a good one. It's a simple one, but you're going to need B minor. If any of you have any concerns about your B minor chord, start practicing it right now. You won't need a capo. You won't need an F chord, but you will need a B minor chord, B minor as in Bravo, for our guitar play along song. If we have time, I want to give you a little demo from the free blues guide that you can get from my website, so you can just hear another example of a song from that. We're going to talk about chasing songs. It's not a good thing. You'll understand when I start talking about it. Chasing songs. I want to help you break the cycle of chasing songs all the time. I have a student quote of the week. Actually, I think I have two student quotes of the week. I have my own dumb question of the week, and we have a poll already up and running in the chat. The poll question of the week is, do you care if your neighbors hear you play your instrument? It's a pretty lighthearted question, except when it's not, because over the years, I have definitely had many students who really are shy about letting their neighbors hear them play the guitar. And sometimes I have to argue that the way physics works, if your neighbor's house is separated from your house, they probably can't hear you playing the acoustic guitar in your basement. And I'm not always successful. Anyways, that's the poll question. So I see 30 of you in the chat already. So head on over to the poll question and weigh in. There's several options. It's not just a yes/no question. We have several options to address that question. We're going to talk about wooden guitars made out of wood. It might be coming to an end, my friends. You heard it here first. I want to talk a little bit about that. And of course, I always like to share a favorite guitar player of mine with you. We're actually going to tie it into the thing about playing octaves. I can't wait. So plenty for us to talk about today. Thanks for being here, you guys. I know some of you are settling in and you're going to we're going to do this for the next 2 hours. I appreciate that. Thank you. I want to say hi and thank you to Beginner Guitar Lessons. Beginner Guitar Lessons is our moderator. He's in the chat, keeping everything running smoothly. So let's give a round of applause for Beginner Guitar Lessons. I want to say hi to my wife, whom just might be watching, with a dog and cats who sometimes even watch as well. All right, you guys. So Bruce, I see your question. Oh, what a great question. I see your question right there. So Bruce, let's jump on that. Bruce asks, Jonathan, what is the structure of your practice session? What kind of things do you work on? Love it. Love the question. And I'm going to answer for sure in general terms, because my general approach to practicing is one I highly recommend. In fact, Bruce, you're setting me up here for success. I said to myself before we started today, hey, I want to remind everybody about that 30-year exercise. That's what I do to get warmed up. It's my current favorite. Okay, you guys remember this a few live streams ago? We talked about this thing that I nicknamed the 30-year exercise. Nobuki Takaman, I got it from him. And I forget which live stream it was, but maybe 2 or 3 back. Okay, so when I start a practice session, I want to get my left hand fingers warmed up. So with a light touch, I do literally this 30-year exercise and other similar things. It's just a C chromatic scale. I use this time to remind myself, play lightly, do not squeeze harder than I have to for my left hand. In fact, I might even do what I just did with so small amount of pressure that it sounds like nothing, right? And then I gradually increase the pressure so I get a little buzzy sound. Hear that? And then I keep doing it a little bit more, just enough pressure so it sounds pretty. And that's my way of reminding myself on a daily basis not to squeeze too hard with my fretting hand. So I'll do that for a minute, the 30-year exercise, which essentially is a C chromatic scale. You guys know I am low-key obsessed with my Mel Bay book of guitar chords, scales, guitar chords, scales, and arpeggios. So I choose a different key every day. I think right now, recently, I'm on the E flat minor scales. So we have 4 different E flat minor scales. Those of you who are following along in your book, this is page 46 and 47. So I'll play the scales. I'll do it with a metronome. Gradually increase the metronome. I'll triple check to make sure I'm using the fingers they tell me to play in the book, right? I can easily spend a couple minutes on each scale because I'm ramping up the metronome speed. I'm trying to take deep breaths and just like enjoy my practice time. Heaven knows it's hard enough to find practice time. I want to enjoy it and relax, right? So there's my warm-up, right? The chromatic scale, those minor scales, reminding myself to not just bang out this scale, but, light pressure, go for the best tone I can get, down, up, picking with my picking hand, right? I love my current obsession for a while now is pedal steel riffs for 6-string guitar, right? That cool, twangy, Nashville country thing where someone is typically playing a Telecaster, single coil pickup kind of guitar. And by bending certain strings while maintaining a grip on another string, you get some cool pedal steel kind of effects. I love those. I love that. So I have a book of that stuff I've been working on. Rarely do I have too much more practice time. What else? What else have I been doing? Sometimes like that what I just described, everything that's described, I can do that for an hour. I'll let you know when I have more than an hour to practice. We'll revisit this question when I have more than an hour. Sometimes songwriting. Sometimes I'll make some time for some songwriting. But there you go. There gives you some ideas. I have no lack of things that interest me. But right now, that's how I would spend. If I had, tomorrow, like I might take an hour and do exactly what I just described. So there you go. Now, the general principles that I want you guys to consider to break up your practice session between warm-up, some kind of warm-up, scales and arpeggios are a great way to get warmed up. A little bit of stuff you're already good at, just to continue the warm-up and to remind yourself that, hey, you've made some progress on the guitar, right? You want to have one masterpiece. You want to have one thing that you can't do yet. And the bigger, the better. I don't mean it has to be a 10-minute epic thing, but you want to have, something substantial. It doesn't have to be an entire song, but you want to have one thing that is your the one big project you've set for yourself. You want to have something like that you're chipping away at, something that you accept is going to take you a while, One thing that helps me focus my practice time is if I've promised something, then I know what I'm going to be doing, right? If I've made a commitment, tonight there's a gig, or I told you I'd come up with a certain riff for the song or something, then that helps me focus my practice time. But balance, you want to have a bit of a balance of essentially easy stuff, medium stuff, and hard stuff. If you only have 10 minutes, that's actually great. If you only have 10 minutes, quick warm up, and then probably get right into one segment of the hard thing, you know? If you only have 10 or 15 minutes, I don't necessarily recommend just banging out what you're already good at. I mean, I know it feels good, but I don't recommend it. So that's, if you think of it as like sitting down at a restaurant, you know, soup and salad, some breadsticks, the entree, little dessert. In my wish for all of you guys is that you have a practice session with a little bit of everything, you know. If you have the one big masterpiece that you're working on, you do a quick warm up and you just want to get right into that and spend 20 minutes, an hour on that thing, that's great. I mean, that's great. You don't always have to have a balance, you know, but that's what I would wish for everybody, to have enough time that you can balance things out, you know. And I'm sure Bruce will revisit this, because practice, it's important to use your time wisely. When you get to be my age, you want to use your time wisely. You guys will see. Rock Lobster says, how long before you change the strings on the new guitar? How do you know I haven't changed the strings? How you could tell I have not changed the strings. I've had this for a little over a month. I haven't changed the strings yet. I don't know. I'm a lucky guy. My finger oil does not corrode strings right away, although I try to be pretty diligent about wiping off the strings when I'm done. I know it sounds pretty good. Let me think. What's this? September. If I had to predict when I'm going to change the strings, I'll probably make it through the end of the month with these strings, and then throw some new strings on in October, no matter what, just for the fun of it. But we're all so different. You know, if someone said, you know, well, what's the rule? When strings don't stay in tune, definitely change them. When you can feel the string, the crusty, rusty nature, then it's time to change them. If you can't remember the last time you changed them, it's probably time. If you've never done it, you got the guitar, you know, months or years ago, you've never done it, it's time, you know. By the way, the thing about not staying in tune, old strings go sharp. Think of old bones getting brittle, okay? The strings essentially tighten up, they get brittle, and you know that's the case if every single time you go to tune the guitar, they're always sharp. You always find yourself loosening the string. 100% time to change the strings for sure. Okay. William Collier. Hey, Bill. Bill says, with the chord-melody book release imminent, can you reveal a playlist and you think you'll ever write a second one? Do you have a basic formula or principle for the chords? My chord-melody book is going great. I did a bunch of proofreading today, found a couple of little tiny mistakes that bugged me. Not musical mistakes as much as like there'll be a chord without a chord name above. Can't have that. So sure, I'm happy to tell you the list of the songs. Ooh, you know what I'm going to do? Oh, this makes me so happy. I'm going to put the list. I feel like I've done this before. I'm going to put the list on the screen here. Okay, let's try this out. This is the book. This is the table of contents, so to speak, of the book I am in the process of finishing. Nope, I don't want to do that. Close. Hold on, that one. And I want to do this. Yes, that, and that. Okay, if you guys can see that in alphabetical order, these are the 30 songs that, like Bill says, will be released. This book will be released imminently, which means November, right, Bill? Imminently means November. No, I'm wrapping it up. After the Gold Rush by Neil Young, Alice's Restaurant, Old Lang Syne, Autumn Leaves, Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain. Can you guys see this okay? Can't Help Falling in Love, Cockles and Mussels, the Irish folk song, Fields of Gold by Sting, and so on and so on. Oh, man, so many good songs. These are, yeah. And then 2 more Christmas songs. What were the Christmas songs that I did? Oh, boy, I don't want to, I'll tell you, hold on my list. Deck the Halls and Silent Night were the 2 Christmas songs. And, oh, yeah. So I'm just doing that last minute proofreading, but the video is done. You couldn't see that. Dang it. How come I can see that? Well, give it a minute. Give it a minute. Nobody can see it at all. Because like to me, it's exactly, I'm seeing like exactly what it should be. Well, anyways, there you go. Okay, I'm back. Hold on. Stop sharing. Oh, you can see it now. Aha. There you go. Okay, so since you can see it now, there we go. I guess it takes a minute. It shouldn't, right? I click on share screen and I don't know. Why does it take so long? Come on, it's 2024. Okay, now you can see the list, right? A lot of songs that start with A. We got everything on here from Irish folk songs, Beatles, Neil Young, Minuet in G, Moon River. Look at this. Look at all those songs. Can you see me scrolling here? You've Got a Friend, Carole King, The Tennessee Waltz. That was a request. Shenandoah, Send in the Clowns. You guys remember I went for classic songs that are relatively slow or that can be played relatively slowly and where the chords are pretty simple. A lot of G's, and C's, and E minors. Okay, so Bill, there's the playlist. And at this point, what I need to do is essentially assemble the book electronically. Just get all the pages in order, make up a nice cover, and then just do the final edit on the video. So the 30 individual videos become one big video that I can put up on YouTube for anyone to watch. And again, this is going to be an e-book. You purchase it, I hope, and then you get a PDF in the mail instantly, an email. The PDF is emailed to you instantly. And then you can choose to print out one page, every page, whatever works for you. And the video, at this point, I'll probably just put the video up on YouTube for anybody to watch, whether you buy the book or not. But obviously the book is where all the tab is, you know. Do I think I'll ever write a second one? 100%. 100%. We've talked about maybe doing a Beatles version. I'm going to go back to my smiling figure. Okay, there we are. I'm back. I would love to do a book, chord melody arrangements of nothing but Beatles songs. I think that'd be great. And just another, a third volume someday of just more classic songs, more beautiful tunes. I really enjoy making these chord melody arrangements. And Bill asked, do you have a basic formula or principle for the chords? Sure. I want to make sure that the chords are common chords. So I'll put a song, especially if it's like no matter what key the song is in, I will put the song in a key where we'll all be playing G's and C's and D's and E minors and all the chords we love. And then I indicate, maybe put the capo on the 3rd fret if you want to play along with the original. So with every song in the book, especially songs that have famous recordings, Yesterday by the Beatles or Fields of Gold by Sting, you can take what I wrote and play it along with the original recording. Sometimes you need a capo, that's all. So in terms of which chords to use, number one thing is make sure it's chords we all know and love. Sometimes it's weird variations, like say a G chord, but you'll leave the skinny string wide open. That sometimes that things like that happen. And the reason that happens, by the way, is sometimes the melody, what the singer is singing, is a note that's not found in the chord, which is a little bit weird if you think about it, but it happens so often. So when you go to strum the chord and reflect the melody of the tune, very often you have to modify the chord, and sometimes it involves something you might think is kind of weird, like a G chord with no finger touching the skinny string. Out of context, it doesn't sound particularly interesting. In context, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Chaz says, Chaz just learned Man of Constant Sorrow, Freight Train is next. Chaz, are you, that's awesome. Are you using that fingerstyle guitar book by Ken Perlman? It sounds that way because those are, like, he has those songs in order. I hope that's one you're using, but no matter what, you got good taste. The book I'm talking about is called Fingerstyle Guitar. It's a classic written by Ken Perlman, Perlman. I definitely recommend it for anybody who wants to learn finger picking the right way. So you don't feel like you're just sort of zipping around with your bare fingers and, hunting for the right notes. Hey, yeah, Deborah, DAC Poet says, looking forward to your finished book. Are you going to use your new guitar for the cover? Yeah, you know it. I mean, I got to get this guitar on the cover, whatever the cover shot is. I got to do it, right? Why not? Why not? Oh, I was just in touch with LSL. They reached out to me to say, how did I like my new guitar? And they told me about, I can't say too much. I'm sworn to secrecy, but what they told me was they have new stuff in the works that might appeal to you guys. It certainly appealed to me. And so I'll let you know when I get the go ahead to tell you more about their next step. But anyways, very cool guitar company out of Southern California, LSL Guitars. And I bought this guitar from them and I have no regrets. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And I recommend them. If you're shopping for a custom guitar, I recommend them highly. Okay. So keep the questions coming in, my friends. And as I always say, if I miss one of your questions, don't be shy. Six String Greg says, I noticed you were starting high on the fretboard. Was that intentional? Yeah, you, Greg. Six String Greg, you're talking about that that 30-year exercise, or really anything on the guitar. Yeah. If this is what you're talking about, and again, I got this from Nobuki Takaman on Instagram. He just posted a reel of him teaching this exercise. I thought, oh, it's great. I want to do it myself. And it's something I can share with almost all of my students because it's pretty straightforward. And coincidentally, he happened to start on 8 on the 6th string, the note C. And then ultimately the whole point of this is to play every possible musical note from 8 on the 6th string over to 8 on the 1st skinny string. C to shining C, the C chromatic scale. And but it's arbitrary. He just happened to start on 8. He could have started almost anywhere, except if any of us did this exercise starting too low, you'd end up going into negative territory on the headstock. And of course, you can't do that. But acoustic guitar, believe me, I'm well aware that certain things, as you go up higher in the acoustic guitar, they get really uncomfortable really fast, right? You bump into the guitar. Electric guitar, usually that's not the case. But I'm just pushing myself to use the whole instrument for lots of reasons. I hear responders responding out there. But it is an arbitrary decision that he made to start on the 8th fret. In general, though, why not? I mean, especially if you are doing essentially a repetitive exercise, then you might as well move it all over the neck. You know, why not? Why not? Okay, everybody. So, hey, while you guys are voting in the poll and thinking of questions, let's do something. Let's have some fun. Okay. Let's get into where should we even begin? Let's do the Sweet Jane exercise. Why not? Good old Sweet Jane by Lou Reed and the Velvet Underground. I'm basing this exercise on the classic version from the album called Loaded, Velvet Underground Loaded. And here we go right there. Okay, so why am I calling this a Sweet Jane exercise instead of just teaching, saying, hey, let's play Sweet Jane? Because it is basically how you play Sweet Jane. I will tell you after I hydrate. Again, our unofficial sponsor, Lyman Orchards from Middlefield, Connecticut, purveyors of fine apple cider. It's apple season here in the Northeast. Good times. Okay, everybody. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play Sweet Jane with some power chords. 2, 3, 4. What is the exercise? My challenge to you is to learn it. Is it hard cider? No, it's cider. Hard cider is on the agenda, but not for another 90 minutes. I like my ciders. So my challenge to you is to get familiar with, this pretty simple, straightforward representation of Sweet Jane. And then my challenge for you is to play it in other keys, to memorize the visual pattern of it, how these power chords relate to each other, and then be able to play it all over the neck, specifically on the fat strings. Okay, so let's keep I bet a lot of you are pretty familiar with power chords. I'm doing with my index and ring, which is easy to do, especially if you have your thumb pointing up towards the ceiling. Some of you might feel more comfortable using your index and pinky. I get that. But if that's how you're going to do it, don't stop practicing, using your ring finger instead for lots of reasons. If you want to facilitate that, again, having the thumb pointing up straight towards the ceiling is how you give your ring finger a fighting chance to get up there. Okay, so the D power chord right there. I know it's a little bit hard to see the horizontal lines that represent the strings. Maybe that's a little bit better with the camera focus on that. There we go, that works. A D power chord named after the 5th fret on the A string. Next power chord is the A power chord. Notice they both are 5/7, right? So your first move for Sweet Jane, take your fingers and move them over to the fat strings, and then backwards 2 frets. So if I were to say the power chord names, D, A, G. Now, I'm at the B power chord. See that hot mess right there? That's supposed to be a 5. That's B, yeah. Okay, still on the 2 fat bass strings. I'm just going to glide up until my pointer's on 7. There's a B power chord. Remember, the ring finger is always tagging along, or if you're using your pinky is always tagging along. It's always on the next string, 2 frets higher. Last chord, the A power chord again. Oh boy. Knock on wood, it's a false alarm. Okay, Sweet Jane, nothing but power chords, pretty straightforward. The exact strumming, I'm going to leave that up to you. You could be a little more assertive and but that's beyond the scope of this moment. One strum is enough. Okay, so challenge number 1, playing that song slowly and ramping up your speed until you can play along with the original song. By the way, when it gets to the chorus, Sweet Jane, it's just the first 3. When it gets to the chorus, you don't do the last 2. It's like, Sweet Jane, Sweet Jane. So, just so you know. Now you know. Okay. Rock Lobster says, where is D? Good question. The names of these power chords all relate to the name of whatever your pointer finger is touching. So that note, 5 on the A string, that's the note D. That's the note A, 5 on the 6th string, the E string. That's note G. You with me? So the name of the note your pointer finger touches, that is the root note. That's where the name comes from. So power chords are directly related to whatever your pointer finger is touching. By the way, the reason why they get the number 5, B5, A5, and so on, the other note that you're adding on with your ring or your pinky is the 5th note of the scale. What scale? The scale that is named after whatever the root note is, the note that your pointer is touching. So right now, the D5 power chord, the very first one, 5 is the note D, 7 is the 5th note of a D scale. 5 on the fat string, that's note A. 7 is the 5th degree or the 5th note of an A scale. When I say 5th note, remember, do, re, mi, fa, so. It's the so, right? It's the 5th note. So that's, in case you're curious why these have that little 5 name there, that's it. By definition, a power chord, any power chord, is made up of 2 notes, the first note of a scale and the 5th note of a scale. That's what power chords are. Okay, so to wrap up your second challenge, the other challenge for tonight, for the future, What if you're playing with a singer who can't sing as high as Lou Reed? Maybe it'd be better to do it the other way. Maybe you're working with a singer who wants to sing higher than Lou Reed. Who knows? And you have to play the song in a different key. Easy peasy. Although you have to know this way in your sleep. You have to know the motions, not the names. In this case, the names aren't particularly helpful. You could memorize the names, D-A-G-B-A, Dagba, but that's not going to help you. What's going to help you is knowing wherever you start, the next chord involves moving your grip over to the 2 fat strings, right? So just to give you an example, imagine someone wanted to sing higher than Lou Reed, and you added 2 to every number on this page. Everything is 2 frets higher. Everything, okay? So you can use Sweet Jane as a mental agility test, acuity test, either, both. A brain test for memorizing an entire pattern. The good news is it's only 5 chords, right? That's it. Your success 100% relates to how well you can play the original, okay? One important fact, in case I'm not being totally clear about it, the important fact is you definitely are going to be using the same combinations of strings. So make sure, like when you start off, a minute ago, we start off with playing 5 on the 5th string with the index finger, okay? For our purposes for this challenge, you're always going to start on those 2 strings, just like this song started on those 2 strings. Where you locate it, I'm going to leave that up to you. But you're always going to start on those 2, and the next move is going to be to move your fingers over to the 2 fat strings, right? So you're replicating this exact thing, but you're either doing it higher or lower up the neck, okay? And you'll be playing Sweet Jane in all different keys. And hey, push yourself. If you go too low, if you start too low, you won't be able to you run out of room. You know what I'm saying? You'll play the first power chord and the second power chord, and you get to the third one, and you'll be off the neck. Good. I want you to find that. I want you to get so low. You just can't go too low to go, hey, Chris Lloyd. Chris just made a super chat contribution. I appreciate that, Chris. Thank you. Thank you. Maybe that'll go towards some hard cider. I won't, no promises, but I can see that. I can see that in my future. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. So hey, double shot. Now you know how to play Sweet Jane. At least you know one really easy approach to Sweet Jane. If I was going to jump on stage and play with someone playing Sweet Jane, that's exactly what I would do. But if they weren't doing it in this key, I would do this concept, but I would hopefully figure out what key they were doing it in and be good to go. Okay, so this is as good as any time to segue into that thing I called getting disoriented. You want to get disoriented on the guitar, with or without any kind of cider. What I just explained, what I just challenged you to do is to disorient yourself and see if you can recreate the music, that you intend to. You take any pattern, it could be anything, doesn't have to be Sweet Jane. You practice it, and you think you've got it memorized, whatever it happens to be, and then you move it to a new location, physically you move it, and you find out very quickly if you really have the pattern memorized. It could be a scale, an arpeggio, a catchy little riff. In this case, it happens to be the entire song, and you can play the entire song with power chords. So getting disoriented, I want you all to find opportunities, make opportunities to do that. The 30-year exercise, same deal. Remember, we start on 8, same deal. As soon as you challenge yourself to put it in a new place and recreate the pattern, you're disorienting your mind. It's a beautiful thing. It's also mandatory. You have to do it. So however you choose to do it, I applaud you for doing it, but also you kind of have to do it. So you can't, otherwise you are not, you're limiting yourselves. You're you're certainly not challenging your brain in a super awesome, healthy way. And then in a real world kind of way, like what if someone wants to play the song in a different key? You could capo up, but even that's a little bit disorienting, right? When you put a capo on, it's a little bit, because now all of a sudden you have to think, okay, no, so what used to be the sixth fret, now that's the second fret or whatever. But it's extremely possible that you will find yourself in a situation where the song you're really good at, you suddenly have to play it a different way. And in a perfect world, you just move the whole thing up 2 frets, no capo or anything. I mean, if it's this type of thing, you just move it up a few frets. So I call that getting disoriented. And if you can't do it, that's totally okay. But now you have a very specific challenge in front of you, because you really want to be able to do it in general, and then with very specific songs. So why not Sweet Jane? Okay, so that was one of the topics I wanted to talk to you guys about tonight. And I wish it were, I don't know, pretty interesting term, getting disoriented. But then you find your way back, right? Maybe you took a different way home and you're pretty sure you know how to get there, but you find out pretty quickly if you didn't, how well you know the other way home or whatever. Okay, so you get the idea. Here's where getting disoriented as a personal challenge, here's where it doesn't work. Or at least I don't intend you to do it this way. Someone says, oh, the song is D, A, and G, but I want to do it in the key of F sharp. Well, that's its own challenge. But if what you're learning is has a bunch of open strings involved, a bunch of regular chords, then that's its own unique challenge. I'm talking about things that I would describe as being in a closed position. Notice no open strings here for Sweet Jane, right? That 30-year exercise. Oh, by the way, the reason I call it the 30-year exercise is when I watched his video, Nobuki Takeman, he said, hey, here's an exercise I've been doing for 30 years. And that's all I needed to hear. I was like, tell me more. So there are no open strings. So that's why it's imperative to disorient yourself and find new ways of doing it. Okay, there you go. The Sweet Jane exercise. I believe the Cowboy Junkies version is not in the same key. So that would be an instant challenge. If you really know this pattern, you should be able to play along with cover versions that are in a different key. Tell me how it goes. Celeste has a dumb question. I feel so bad saying that. It might not be a dumb question, but she calls it dumb. Okay, she says, Jonathan, dumb question. I play a song and my mind wanders. It happens most times. And when that happens, of course, I lose the rhythm. Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Like, where does your mind go? Obviously there's a lot of places. It's a big question. But if your mind wanders because you're singing the lyrics, because you're doing something else relating to the song, I get that. That's an extremely common thing. If your mind is on life because you're an adult and there's things you think you probably should be doing instead of practicing the guitar, then that's a tricky one, But yeah, rhythm by nature, rhythm is often really repetitive because that's what we associate with music, right? Music has a flow. It's extremely common for that flow to be created by a repetitive rhythm, right? And as soon as that rhythm, even if it falters just a little bit, it's not music anymore until you get back on track, right? And we don't want that. We don't want to lose that rhythm. So how do you stay focused? I'll give you some general ideas. Keeping your eyes on whatever you need to. Even if you have the song memorized, it doesn't hurt to have the chords, there in front of your eyes, the lyrics. Give your eyes something to focus on. Sometimes I'm amazed that I guess it tends to be my younger students, but their eyes are anywhere else but me, their own instrument, or the music. Like, hey, you gotta pick one of those. You gotta look at something, Or maybe they're looking at me. I'm like, don't look at me, man. I'm not. Look at the paper. That's got the answers right there, So potentially giving your eyes something to focus on, it could make a difference. Tapping your foot could make a difference. I've seen foot tapping solve problems, and sometimes I've had to encourage a student to stop tapping their foot, and sometimes that cures the problem. That's more of a rhythm thing than a concentration thing. But yeah, tapping your foot. You know, Celeste, you might be super comfortable where you're sitting. Maybe push yourself to stand up, sit in a hard wooden chair, something else to, you know, to keep to not be quite so comfortable. You know, I wonder, Celeste, if you're playing a song that you've done a million times, that your mind is going to wander. If you're in your comfort zone, you know, that could happen. You know, you're in your comfort zone. Obviously, if you're working on something that you barely know how to do, then you have no choice, right? So I'm guessing that your situation is you're in a situation where you're playing something that you might even be kind of good at, and then your mind drifts off. You know, playing along with the original recording. There's a way to stay focused, right? Because there's the original right there. Playing along with a metronome is a way to stay focused. If you guys have any suggestions, feel free to put those in the chat too. It's a great question. So much I think about it now more than ever. So much of success relates on staying focused. It's not about how long your fingers are, how strong your pinky is, whether you're playing with a pick or bare fingers. Nothing matters if you lose concentration, right? And so it just got me thinking, like, man, without concentration and focus, you know, you may not feel any progress, you know, at the moment at all, right? So it's a great question, and those are some of my thoughts about that. I love the question. Beginner guitar lessons is encouraging everybody to hit the like button. Sure, why not? We got 42 viewers, 20 likes. Why not? Why not? Beginner guitar lesson says play something you never play. Yeah. If you're playing something kind of hard, you got to focus. Of course, at first you might not. If you're playing something kind of hard, you might not have any flow going at all, right? Celeste gets back to the notion of having some of your practice time do what you're comfortable with, just to be in your comfort zones. It feels good because you worked at it. Now you're good at it, and then having part of your practice time on the harder stuff. You know, if you have any opportunity to play with another musician, that also, I mean, you can't drift off, man, because they're right there with you, right? You know, they're right there playing, and they figure that you know what you're doing, and you're gonna stay focused, and they're gonna stay focused. All right, so there we go. We talked about Sweet Jane. We talked about the 30-year exercise. How about if we just get right into our play along song? Why not? Have you been practicing your B minor? You guys got a B minor handy? I know some of you might have no problems with B minor whatsoever, and that is great. So, ready for our play along song? You don't need a capo. Acoustic guitar is fine. Electric guitar is fine. 4 chords. Ready? Sure. With or Without You by U2 is our play along song of the week. D as in Delta, A as in Alpha, B minor, and G. That's the entire song. And I'm going to get it even more centered so you can see it even better. There we go. Does that work for you? Now, I want to give you some strumming options and some chord options before we get into the play along part. Okay, so With or Without You from U2. Let's talk about chords. The easiest possible way to play B minor, well, assuming that you're staying down here in our comfort zone, the first few frets, there it is right there, 3 fingers. You can have the open D string. Technically, the name would be B minor / D, meaning B minor, but with D as the low note. Okay, I just call it B minor, but okay. Index finger, skinny string, 2nd fret. Middle finger, 2nd string, 3rd fret. Ring finger, 4th string, 4th fret. You are welcome to include the open 4th D string. But play B minor however you want to play it. But for those of you who are new to B minor, there you go. There's the absolute easiest way of playing it. Because you're coming from an A chord, I don't have any great suggestion. There's no magic trick. You just have to do what I call a leap of faith. Just jump with your fingers and get to that B minor as fast as you can. Putting the index finger down is a good idea for a lot of chord changes, including A going to B minor. But B minor there are no other chords that lead nicely to B minor in a physical sense, the way that you might argue like D to A, right? D major to A major, like the beginning of the song, is a relatively easy chord change. You know, you kind of just scooch your fingers over, but B minor is like that. Rarely is there a chord before B minor that helps you get to B minor. Okay, this is how it is. For once, mark this date in history. I'm encouraging you to play G however you want to play G. If you know, you know, right? Any way you want to play G, knock yourself out, whatever works for you. So D, A minor, B minor, 4 counts in each. 2, 3, 4, 2, 3. We'll talk about the strumming in a minute, but that's the basic speed, okay? D, 2, 3, 4. Now for extra credit, here are some up the neck versions of the 4 chords. We talk a lot in this live stream about getting up the neck. Okay, well, here's your chance. For 2 reasons. Number 1, for the challenge of it. Number 2, I got the strumming. I got that covered. And a lot of the rest of you are going to be doing that too. So for those of you who want to do these up neck chords, you have time to think in between the chords because we're keeping the momentum going. So you could simply go 2, 3, 4. You have time to get to the next chord. 2, 3, 4. You know what I'm saying? If you're part of a band, you're not carrying the whole song on your shoulders, and that frees you up to do something else, you know? And what I'm saying specifically is you don't have to strum those high chords because we've got that covered, you know? So very quickly, before we get into playing the song, this high version of D, 10, 10, 11 on the 3 treble strings. I highly recommend barring the 2 skinny strings at 10. Don't use 2 separate fingers, just 1 finger. And then your middle finger arching over to 11 on the 3rd string. 10, 10, 11. Might remind you of an old-fashioned F chord, but we're way up high. There's the D. 2nd chord of the song, A, 9, 10, 9. Again, 3 treble strings. It feels exactly like a D chord, but you're way up at 9 and 10. There's your A chord, 9, 10, 9. B minor, look at that, a 1-finger B minor, 7, 7, 7. 3 skinny strings, 1 finger. Please use 1 finger. Just clamp down with your pointer. Don't use 3 separate fingers. It's too much work. 1 finger, just clamp down. There's your B minor, 7, 7, 7. And check it out, the G, 7, 8, 7. It keeps your hand in the same place. I'm going to suggest just grabbing what feels like a D chord, 7, 8, 7, a D chord up at the 7th and 8th frets. However, some of you have already figured this out. If you're on 7, 7, 7 for the B minor chord, you could just arch a finger over, keep the bar there. I'm going to use my ring finger, 2nd string 8, and that turns what was a B minor into a G. You could do that. I'll leave it up to you. Obviously, I'm including those up the neck chords because it's a teachable moment. None of this is what the Edge from U2 is actually strumming on the guitar. He's got his whole Edge thing going on, but this totally fits the song. Okay, in general, everything on this piece of paper, crank up the song, play along with it. You know, you're in the band, man. You're in the band. But yeah, to be clear, I actually don't know specifics about the exact guitar part. Very atmospheric, and there's some cool electric guitar, some cool kind of rhythm guitar riffs up the neck. Very interesting. Okay, last thing before we play it. There's a moment in this song that recurs where the singer, good old what's his name, the singer is singing a note that's not in the chord. and I want to bring it to your attention. It's when the lyrics say, you give yourself away. The band is on a D chord, and he's singing the note E, and that's just how it goes. So I didn't want anyone to think like, "Ooh, wait, that doesn't work right there." It's just how the song goes. But if I were to learn this song, well, as I got ready for today's live stream, I got to that moment in the song, and specifically, it's like, when you give yourself away, you give yourself away. I thought, whoa, am I sure that's the right chord? And it is. But I thought if it gave me pause, it might give you pause as well. And so I wanted to make sure that you're good with that. Okay, so we're going to start in a minute. Right hand strumming. Couple options. That classic folky down, down, up, up, down. You could totally use that for this song. And to illustrate it, for some reason, that pattern is the kind of, it seems like a lot of people just seem to teach themselves that pattern. It doesn't work with every song. It totally works with this song, you know. You would do one of those, da, 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 da. You do that on the D, and then right away do it again on the A, and so on. So if that's your go-to strum, you're all set for the song. Just keep repeating that once per chord. You could do 4 simple downstrokes, D, 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 because maybe that's your comfort zone. But let's talk about sounding more like the actual song. I'm going to do 8 faster strokes with a little palm muting with the edge of my hand. This is more authentic to the tune. That dun, 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 dun. One more option. Just light down ups, 4 light down ups. I'm holding the pick so loosely. 4 light down ups for each chord. All of these work well. They all can overlap. You're allowed to switch between them. What am I going to do? I'm going to try to do a little bit of each one to sort of walk the walk and not just talk the talk. Okay. I think we're ready. All right, let's do this. With or Without You by U2. And how about this? All right, I'll see you on the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4. See the stone set in your eyes. See the thorn twist in your side. I'll wait for you. Sleight of hand and twist of fate. On a bed of nails, she makes me wait. And I wait without you. With or without you. Without you. Through the storm, we reach the shore. You give it all, but I want more. And I'm waiting for you. With or without you. With or without you. I can't live. With or without you. give yourself away, and you give yourself away, and you give, and you give, and you give yourself away. My hands are tied, my body bruised, with nothing to win, nothing left to lose, and you give yourself away, and you give yourself away, and you give, and you give, and you give yourself away, with or without you, with or without you. I can't live with or without you, with or without you. Did you notice that my go-to B minor was like the one I showed you? I add on one more finger, one more string. So I add on with my ring finger, 4th string, 4th fret, instead of leaving the 4th string open. See that? So that's my go-to B minor. Some of you are doing it as a complete bar chord, I'm sure. Why not? You know? Okay, pretty straightforward, right? You saw I switched from the down, down, up, down to that kind of more authentic, all downstrokes, a little palm muting with the right hand. Sounds good on acoustic, sounds good on electric, you know. And we're in the key of D, a little music theory here. We're in the key of D. If I was talking to, say, a bass player, and I said, oh man, the song is so easy, I might choose, instead of saying D, A, B minor, G, I might choose to use what some people call the Nashville number system. So I might say it's in the key of D, but the chords are 1, something, something, something. What would I say to that bass player? If D is the 1 chord, and it is, what number would I assign to A? What number would I assign to B minor? And what number would I assign to G? D, A, B minor, G, 1, something, something, something. Okay. How would you possibly know this? It would help if you knew the D major scale, but you can do what I call the quick, dirty way. Work your way through the actual alphabet, not even the musical alphabet, just the actual alphabet. If D is 1, some kind of E chord would be number 2, some kind of F chord would be number 3. You with me? Yeah, A to Z, me. Okay, A to Z, me. You got it. You got it. Deborah, you're on the right. Deborah said 1. Deborah, you got the right answer for that one, right? So yeah, a 1, 5, 6, 4. Randy, you got it. Good. And Randy went the extra distance to call 6 the minor chord, because this minor, yeah. Although in general, the 6th chord is usually minor, especially in your typical pop kind of tune, but it can't hurt to make it 100% clear. 1, 5, 6, 4. I could imagine the bass player saying the 6th chord's minor, right? Yep. You know, fair question. 1, 5, 6, 4. So that the what I was just describing as the quick and dirty way of doing it, alphabetically, D, E, F, G. G is the 4th letter alphabetically, and that's why we nickname it the 4 chord. After G comes A in music, right? There's no H, I, J, K, so A would be the 5 chord. After A comes B. That's why B minor is the 6 chord. Is that totally academically the right way to achieve those answers? No, but it does happen to work a lot. So yeah, A is the 5th note of a G scale, B is the 6th note of a G scale, and G is the 4th note of a D scale. And why is the D scale our reference? Because you're in the key of D. Now, how do you possibly know we're in the key of D? Often the key you're in is represented by the very first chord. Not all the time. When you know, they'll fool you sometimes, but it's really, if you had to bet on the first chord, and it's true a lot of the time. So we're in the key of D, 1, 5, 6, 4. It's another way to describe the song. Okay. What if there's a key change? Says A to Z me. What if there's a key change? Yeah. Well, you would, number one, you'd want to communicate that to other people. And you'd have to know what, like, you start with knowing it yourself. So if you knew what the key change was, you'd have to make sure you knew what the new chords were going to be, and then communicate that to the other musicians. And because not everybody has the same training, you might describe it one way to one musician and another way to another musician. Say the song goes from the key of D, which it is, up 2 half steps, 2 frets, you could say, to the key of E. E is in echo. You could say to the bass player, hey, it goes 2 frets higher. I mean, and maybe for the bass player, that's exactly what they need to know. Maybe they'd rather hear you describe it that way. Maybe, I don't know. That's here's why I mentioned that. You would not describe it that way to the piano player, the keyboard player, because they don't have frets. So you really would want to tell them, hey, we're in the key of E. If the bass player is scratching their head, you can say, just take everything you just did and move it 2 frets higher, you know. But it's a tricky situation to be in because, you know, working with other people, as a song gets more complicated, you want to make sure everyone's on the same page, and that can be tricky if everyone doesn't have the same kind of training. By the way, notice the songs that I pick. This is we've done well over 40 of these. They never have key changes. You know, well, I'm not going to say never, but they probably wouldn't make the cut if it had a key change. Unless it was something that was a teachable moment, really easy to facilitate. I'm just saying the key of C moving up to the key of D. If everything about the song was awesome and appropriate for what we're doing, and it had that key change from the key of C to the key of D, yeah, that would be kind of cool. Well, sooner or later, if we do enough of these, right, sooner or later that'll happen. Okay, so there you go. Okay. We are not done, not by a long shot. In the minutes and minutes and minutes we have left, we are going to do the next part of Stairway to Heaven. I thought this was going to be the final week, but it turns out there are 6 parts to Stairway to Heaven that I want to show you, not just 5. So this is the second to last lesson on playing Stairway to Heaven, starting with the ending and moving to the beginning, because the song, remember, is actually easier at the end and gets harder. And even this part that I'm going to show you during today's live stream, it also is one smidgen easier for sure. Well, not a smidgen. I mean, it's for sure. It's even this part is easier than the very first part. I was mistaken that I thought. I actually thought the first part of Stairway to Heaven, the first, you know, the way the song starts, I thought that continued uninterrupted, and it does get interrupted. Where did I do my research? Oh, I have the Rolling Stone 500 greatest songs of all time, the easy guitar tab edition, and that set me straight. So don't forget to keep the questions coming in, but maybe we can do that next. The next part of Stairway to Heaven. Why not? You guys are talking about hockey in the chat. All right. Hey, whatever works. Just let me know. I'm here if you need me. Let me know. Okay, so yeah, let's do this. For all the prior live streams, I think we missed one, but for almost every prior live stream, we did a segment of Stairway to Heaven. And at some point, believe me, we're going to recap all of them, like one at a time, right? We'll spend 5 minutes on each part. I have them all here in black Sharpie. Okay, so this is this week's part. It's 2 pages, but don't let that freak you out. The reason it's 2 pages is I want to write kind of big, and the second page is extremely similar to the first page, but the second page is easier than the first page, which continues this phenomenon of Stairway to Heaven getting easier. Okay, what we're about to do, bare fingers. Bare fingers. Do not do this with a pick. This is your chance, especially if you've done little or no finger picking. This is your chance to do it. Why not? If not now, when? This part of the song starts at about the 25-second mark. And you need this part up until about 1 minute and 45 seconds. It alternates back and forth with the literal beginning of the song. But this is a little bit easier. No less important, though. Okay, couple of things. Don't let this stress you out. You have a bunch of things working in your favor. You got me. I'm on your side, and I'm going to explain this to the best of my ability. Secondly, many of you have heard this song so much, you will, as you're practicing this, you'll get that feeling of the song coming to life. And that's psychologically, that's a huge advantage to pursuing something, especially if it's a little bit hard. So you're going to do great. All right, let us begin. Dearly beloved, with your bare fingers on your picking hand, which I'm going to call my right hand. In general, when you're finger picking, your thumb's in charge of the 3 fat strings. If you ever need to play one of the fat strings, the 3 bass strings, E, A, and D, it's going to be your thumb's responsibility. Are there exceptions? Yes, but let's get you oriented. In general, your ring finger on your picking hand, also some people might call it the 3rd finger, is in charge of the 1st skinny E string. Your middle finger is in charge of the 2nd B string. Your index finger is in charge of the 3rd string, the G string. Okay, so we're going to see exceptions to this, but I want to get you oriented right away. This is proper finger picking, right? Where work is divided, and if an exception comes along, we make an exception. But this is a good way to start. So I definitely hope that some of you, many of you, work on this well after this live stream has concluded, so you can come back and review everything I'm talking about. You do not have to understand all this stuff right this second. You don't have to master right this second. Okay. When there's exceptions to that orientation, I'm going to be very clear about it. Okay. Let's talk about your fretting hand chords. In general, you're going to need a C chord, C major, D chord, F major 7. That's an F chord where you let the skinny string stay open. F major 7 is a beautiful sound. And here on the tab, I use the very hip designation, that triangle. That's the hip way of writing the word major. It's old school. So F triangle 7 means F major 7. You guys know, now you're cool. Now we're all cool. F major 7. It's easy peasy, right? And it sounds beautiful. You need A minor. You need G. And so sorry, you guys, but you got to do G this way. G, where your pinky's on the 1st skinny string, 3rd fret, ring finger arching way over to the 6th string, 3rd fret. And technically, you don't need the middle finger to be down. But typically, the middle finger would be on the 5th string, 2nd fret. It just so happens that Jimmy Page is not including that exact note, but you might as well just put it down because why not? You're going to need that G in other situations. You might as well get good at it now. Okay, you'll need D major, like I said, but also D suspended 4. It just means D with your pinky on the skinny 1st string, 3rd fret. By the way, every once in a while, I get a little grief. Someone says, you like, why do you call these strings fat strings, skinny string, as if the viewers and listeners and everyone are like children? And here's my excuse. I work with a lot of special needs adults, and it works for me and them. They don't have a problem with me calling things skinny string, fat string. And secondly, I work with a lot of people who are not special needs, but are apparently easily confused. So I find when I say skinny string, no one has any doubts about which string I'm talking about. And I just found it convenient. And so I'm going to keep doing it. Skinny string, fat string, and so on. Okay. You recognize that? By the way, page 1, see it right there? There's page 1. Okay, so now let's get down to it. First of all, that nice little walk up on the 5th string, the A string, walking up to the C major chord. See that? 0, 2, 3. It's a recurring theme. You're going to see it on page 2 as well. By the way, student quote of the week. A student of mine used this terminology. It wasn't regarding this song, but it might as well have been. He called it stepping into a chord. Right? I just stepped into a C chord. And as soon as he said that, I thought, oh, I got to write that down. Stepping into a chord. I love it because we are leading right into a C chord. I'm using my thumb. Thumb, thumb, thumb. Now the very next note, 4th string, 2nd fret from a C chord, I don't want to use my thumb again, so I'm already going to break my rule. My index finger on my right hand is going to pluck that note. My middle is going to pluck the next one. And then my ring finger is going to jump way over to the skinny string. In slow motion. Thumb, 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 index, middle, ring. Highly recommend doing that, okay? Dividing up the work. You will come across you will think of other ways of doing it. I recommend this way highly. Thumb, 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 index, middle, ring. Okay, now I'm on the D chord. See that right there? I'm on the D chord. I'm going to pinch with my thumb and my ring finger at the same time. I pinched my skinny 1st string with my ring finger and my thumb together. My thumb is plucking down. My ring finger is plucking up. I know it's hard to see it exactly. Here it comes. See that? Middle on the 2nd string. Index on the 3rd string. Ring finger on the 1st string. That's staying true to this orientation. We're going to do the exact same right hand picking, but on an F major 7. That's that thing right there. The whole first line all the way across. Line 2. See how it says A minor? I am going to kind of step into this A minor, pinching the open 5th string and the open 2nd string, my thumb and my middle finger. Hammering down. This is how I'm stepping into the A minor. I hammered with my index on the 2nd string, 1st fret, and then I formed the rest of the A minor chord. So my index finger could pluck that 2 on the 3rd string. And here comes that walk up again, that 0, 2. It's like I'm back at the beginning of the song. It even leads to a C chord. And this time, Jimmy Page chose to do a pinch at the beginning of the C chord. Thumb on the 5th string and the middle finger on the 2nd string. Notice my C chord is now in place. I did the pinch with my thumb and middle, index 3rd string 0, thumb 4th string 2, middle finger 2nd string 1. Here's that C chord again. Okay, here comes that big G, pinky on the, and trust me, you want to get good at your pinky on that 1st string 3rd fret. It's going to help you in a second. My thumb plucked the 6th string. My ring finger plucked the 1st string. Middle 2nd string open. Index 3rd string open. Ring finger, skinny string 3rd fret. Here's the G segment. Now the pinky is going to stay down. Don't move your pinky. Keep your pinky by itself on the 3rd fret of the skinny 1st string, but form the D chord around it because you're about to You're about to do a pinch with a pull off, thumb, fourth string open, ring is that pinky note. Ring is going to pluck the first string, third fret, and then my pinky is going to pull off. Hear that? So it's a pinch and then the pull off. Oops. And then those two big stacks, that's taking your thumb and three fingers, no pinky, no right hand pinky. And I'm just going to pluck both of those Ds. Oops. Just as one big. Okay, let's take a breath. In a minute, I'm going to slowly play from there to there. We're going to go on to page 2. Trust me, page 2 is so similar to page 1, but easier. Okay? Yeah, Rock Lobster, that pull-off sounds nice, right? Scott Rhodes says, these stairway lessons should be edited to a single backwards stairway lesson video. That's a great idea. Great idea. It would have like 6 components. And then at the end, the whole song all the way through, right? Sure. It's a great idea. Love it. Okay. I'll stop talking. I'm going to play from top to bottom, hopefully accurately. Hopefully I'll do everything I told you to do. Here it comes. Slow motion. Okay. Just a little bit left. Same order of chords, slightly. This is page 2. There's a little page 2 designation down there. Same order of chords, slightly. There's a few subtle things. For instance, like in the beginning, that C is slightly different than the first page. With my picking hand, I went thumb, 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 index, middle, ring. Okay. So when you use consecutive fingers, you get a nice flow going. Okay, here comes the D with a pinch right there, thumb and ring finger. Here comes almost the same exact thing on the F major 7. Here's the A minor. Now the last line is the easiest. Go figure. The song keeps getting easier, right? Okay, the very last line. Here's that walk up again. I did thumb, 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 index, middle, ring. I'm grabbing a D chord. Thumb, index, middle, ring. And then the F major 7, 3, let's call these big pinches. My thumb is plucking down as my index, middle, and ring are plucking up towards my chin on the 4 skinny strings. Okay, so page 2, slow and steady. Here it comes. All right, there you go. I do not expect all 45 of you currently watching at this moment to breeze through that, especially if you don't have much experience finger picking. And this is not the easiest song to begin finger picking on. I get it. And yet, if you break these 2 pages into like bite-sized pieces, which I highly recommend, you could do this. In fact, I would go as far as to say, start with the ending right here. You know, this is the easiest of both pages. This is the easiest one for sure. And I think the top line of page 2 is the next easiest, I think. You know, work your way backwards. Yeah. All right. I'm happy to review this stuff, you guys. You know, in fact, you know, a week or two from now, if you're like, if enough people will say, you know what, would you review that? Because, you know, you just need one more walkthrough. Totally fine doing that. And then again, I imagine there's a few of you out there who are, you know, have a little bit of experience with finger picking, and you're jumping on this right away, and you're like, oh, okay, you know. Which brings me to another student quote of the week. And Bill, I think this was you who said the following. Bear with me. And I was struck. Sometimes a student will say something that gets right to the point. And Bill, I think this was you during our lesson. I think I asked about, you know, did you think it was hard, medium, or easy, or whatever we were working on? And you said, well, it's not hard to learn it. It's not hard to see what the task is in front of you. That part is clear. And clearly that's different than performing the song, you know, perfectly, quote, quote. And I thought, oh, I like that. When a student has looked at something, thought about something, analyzed it, heard me talk about it, and says, okay, it's not hard to learn it. I get it. And now the work begins, right? But that's a good position. But I liked Bill, I think that was you. I like how you said that, you know, a song might be pretty clear, and you know what your task is. You can see the road ahead of you. You know, beginning guitar lesson says he hybrid picks Stairway to Heaven. And you can do that. You can do that using your pick on whatever the fatter string is. And then, you know, with one of your remaining fingers, you know, pinch the other note. I encourage you guys to do it with bare fingers, number one, because that's how Jimmy Page does it. But also, you know, finger picking is such a beautiful style. And again, it's not that I would recommend this as your first finger picking song, but this might whet your appetite, and you might take a step backwards and say, okay, I want to work my way up to Stairway to Heaven. And what do? I'm going to get a good book. I'm going to take some lessons. I'm going to watch some videos. I'm going to get some basics down, give myself X amount of time. And then I'm going to come back to Stairway to Heaven. And that's a very smart thing to do. You know, get yourself a foundation. For example, pattern picking. There's no one pattern for Stairway to Heaven, right? You have your eyes open. There's a few things that reoccur, but there's no one pattern. So a good foundation for something like this would be pattern picking, you know, and learn a handful of patterns, get comfortable with some different repetitive patterns, and then tackle Stairway to Heaven. Great idea. Hey, Randy, thank you for your super chat. I'm gonna throw you a heart here. There we go. All right. I appreciate that, you guys. Okay, so I'm going to catch my breath for a second. We're cruising through some stuff here. Everybody having fun? I'm having fun. I hope you are. Today was a pretty chill day for me. I had 2 gaps in my schedule today. Hey, Christian from Denmark. Nice to hear from you. So I had 2 gaps in my schedule today, which is a little bit unusual, but I'll take it. Had beautiful weather here in Connecticut, and I just stepped outside and took some deep breaths. Okay, let's get to a question. Bruce has a question. Bruce says, I struggle a bit with bending perfectly in tune. Can you demonstrate whole step bending? Excellent. So right away, your question is your question shows me that you're already on your way to the answer. I'm laughing because beginner guitar lessons had to deal with a little bit of a hurricane down south. And when you played Rock You Like a Hurricane, your wife didn't think it was funny. Yeah. Oh, well. Chaz, thank you for your super chat donation. I appreciate that as well. Don't forget, there's a lot of ways for you guys to support these live streams, one of which is to head over to Sweetwater and buy yourself something. But before you do that, use the affiliate link. And there's an affiliate link in the description of this video. And what the heck, I'll put it in the chat right now. When you head over to Sweetwater using that affiliate link, Sweetwater knows They're like, oh man, that guy's he's a friend of Jonathan's. We'll take care of him. Well, what they do is they send me a little percentage of whatever you guys spend. Okay, there you go. There's the Sweetwater affiliate chat. Okay, where were we? Bending strings. Thank you for your patience. And thank you, Rock Lobster, for your super chat. I appreciate that as well. So Bruce, the fact that you're asking the question about bending strings, that means that you're aware that string bending is an art. It's a science, all of the above. And you want to be careful when you do it, because you can make your guitar sound out of tune, or play a note that's out of tune when you don't intend to. And for most of us, probably what's more irritating to the human ear is bending too much, going sharp. It's less forgiving. I think that our ear is less forgiving of a sharp sound than if you bend and you don't quite get there, although we're going for perfection, right? Okay. So I'll give you an example of something that let me think here. I forget the exact riff, but I'll show you. I'm going to use this one as an example. Matching notes. 5 on the second string with my index finger. I'm going to put my ring and my middle together on the third string. My ring is at the 7th fret on the third string, middle on the 6th fret of the third string. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play the second string, 5th fret, my index finger note. I'm going to pluck the third string, and using both of those fingers, I'm going to try to bend the third string until it sounds like the second string. So here's the second string. Here's a third string. Now to my ear, that's pretty close. By the way, visually you can see, man, that's good thing I have kind of light strings on here. These happen to be 9-gauge strings. That's a pretty mighty bend. That's why you need 2 fingers. I could not bend the string that much with only 1 finger. And it's, why would I do that? There's no reason to. Okay, so matching pitches. Now here's that's a demonstration. Here's the strategy though. Okay. Let's say for the moment that that's a challenge, that at the moment your middle and ring just can't push that string enough. Guess what the strategy is? Move your whole hand up higher. I'm going to go up to where my index finger is on 12 on the B string. My ring is going to be on 14. My middle is right behind it on 13, both on the G string. Long story short, the strings are bendier up high. Even if my goal is to execute this particular bend down lower, if I can't do it, which is totally understandable, move it higher, find a way you can do it, and then fret by fret move down until you get to where you want to be. Or if you're just doing it on principle, then there's no one goal. You want to get good string matching, good note matching. I recommend hitting the second string first. Again, I'll go back to the second string 12. So far my advice includes multiple fingers on the bending note whenever possible, right? Multiple fingers, at least 2 fingers, right? And using your ear to determine if you've got enough muscle. The same exercise, we could do it on the first and second strings. Oh, I'm going to stay up at 12. By the way, those of you playing acoustic and this is just not comfortable for you up at 12, that's okay. But the principle is still the same. Strings are easier to bend the further up the fretboard you get. Okay. On the 2 treble strings, it's a slight change. Index finger, 12 on the first string, ring finger 15. You might have thought it was going to be 14, it's going to be 15 on the second string. Middle finger right behind it, 14 on the second string. That ring a bell like Chuck Berry. That kind of sound, right? Chuck Berry. So the reason why I'm reaching up to 15, by the way, as opposed to 14 when I first introduced this, it has to do with the relationship between the B and G strings compared to the E and B strings. Long story short. I can see myself getting carried away with this and forgetting, wait a minute. I'm doing this right now to test my ear and go for accuracy, not just going for like wanting to sound like Chuck Berry. So Bruce, those are two exercises that actually have real world value that can help you, I think, getting your muscles ready, getting your ear ready. And you specifically mentioned a whole step bending. And so this is for sure, and here's just to be clear, in case some of you aren't sure, a whole step, us guitar players think that has 2 frets, right? 2 frets is the musical distance of a whole step. When I bend 15 to sound like 12, another way to describe it is I'm bending 15 so it sounds like 17 on the second string. 17 and 12 are the same note. So bending from 15 to 17, it would be called a whole step bend. I'm using 12 as my reference point, 12 in the first string, because that's simply a different way of playing the exact same note. Instead of playing 17 on the second string, I'm playing 12 on the first string. So that's a whole step bend, So Bruce, those are some ideas. Much easier on an electric guitar than on an acoustic guitar. So if any of you are doing anything like what I just did, but on an acoustic guitar right now and you feel very unsuccessful, it's not you. It's just, yes, there's a certain amount of muscle that needs to be developed, but it's just a lot easier on an electric guitar. So anyone who doesn't feel like this is working at the moment on acoustic guitar, use that Sweetwater link and get yourself an electric guitar, and then let's revisit this, So Bruce, I hope that's helpful. Scott Rhodes has a dumb theory question, a DQ, DTQ, dumb theory question. Oh, great question. Scott Rhodes says, does it make sense to use the Nashville Numbering System for everything? For example, one of the chord progressions we did last live stream, D to D major 7 to D7 to G. Great question. Yeah, it doesn't work as well. Assuming we're in the key of D and the chord progression is D, D major 7, D dominant 7 to G, then all those Ds would be called the 1 chord, right? But just calling it the 1 chord wouldn't reflect that a D and a D major 7 are pretty profoundly different chords, right? So that's where it would break down, unless you kind of split the difference and you said, oh, the song goes 1 major 7, 1 dominant 7, 4. G would be the 4 chord in this case. So, but if you're going to go through that much trouble, it is accurate, but yeah, it's getting a little, but it's accurate. But you're making a good point. If I was just telling someone the chord changes for that song, for this example, I might just say the names of the chords, D major 7, D7, whatever. That would, I think, your example would be easier to communicate just by saying the actual chord names and not using the numbering system. Great question. Willie Snyder has I don't know why you think this is a dumb question, Willie. Willie says, are there any songs you just instantly hear and want to learn? 100%. Oh yeah, 100%. Or the other way, you just instantly say it's not worth your time. Yeah, both. So yeah, Willie, if you understand his question, I think your question is, it's directed towards me, but it could be directed towards all of us. You hear a song and something about it, like, oh man, I gotta figure out that song. And then there's another song you might even like the other song, but there's nothing about it that makes you want to pick up your guitar and play. So, yep. And so to keep things positive, let's focus on the moments where you hear a song, there's a riff, or maybe just a cool chord change or something. You think, oh man, I got to figure that out. Definitely. What happens to me sometimes is I'll be practicing something and I'll realize, oh wait, that's that song that I've heard my whole life or whatever. And I was like, oh man, you kind of stumble upon it. You're like, oh, that's that thing. That's that ZZ Top riff or whatever. But sure, usually, Willie, when there's something that I hear and instantly decide, oh, I got to learn that. The guitar is very prominent. Whatever the guitar is doing might be like the riff. It might be like how the song goes. Like it's right there, and it often is something pretty simple and repetitive. Because I think, oh, come on. Because don't forget, I look at a song two ways. I want to learn it, and I think, ooh, I probably have some student who would get into this song too. I have a pretty good variety of students. I'm lucky that way. So it could be a classic rock song that's going to appeal to some of my students. It could be a current pop song that's going to appeal to some of my students. It could be a song that is neither one of those things, but I think, I might be able to sell this because I want to have an excuse to play it and teach it. I think I bet I could sell this. I could pitch this. I could say, hey, here's a cool chord exercise that happens to be this obscure song from 2007. I don't know, and but I might give it a good sales pitch and say, oh, no, you want to learn this song because it's got this, it's got a technique you're going to see in future songs. And I'm sincere about it. But yeah, I try to, well, like with you guys, the play along song of the week. Sometimes I come across a song, I think, oh, I like it. I would love to sing it and play it. But it's a pretty obscure song. I think, so I put it on I put it on hold. Like, okay, it'll go on the list. If I can't think of any other possible song, maybe I'll do that one. But it's just not a famous song. But I think, well, if I pitch it right, maybe I'll do it. Yeah. Willie says that happens to you on bass. Yeah, you hear a certain thing as a bass player, and you say, "Ooh, I like that bass line." Definitely. With or without you. The bass is pretty much. I thought about including this as part of the whole play along thing for "With or Without You" by U2 that we did a minute ago. The bass just playing the root notes, D to A to B back to G. I thought, ooh, that could be that could be yet another approach, especially for someone who's never really thought about what it's like to be a bass player. Well, there's the bass line playing the root note. I'm not saying that's all that ever happens on the bass in that song. I didn't analyze it, but for sure it's a big part of the song. Is just good old Adam from U2 just laying into those root notes, eight Ds, 8 As, 8 Bs, 8 Gs, the root notes of each chord. But it's a cool bass line, but it's some people might hear that song and gravitate towards the bass and say, oh, I want to learn the bass part for that. Yeah. Okay, you guys. Hey, bear with me for a second. I'm going to check my agenda. Still to come, octaves. We're going to get to octaves in a minute, and I'll explain what I mean. While I'm doing that, you guys might remember that I get sent offers. Different companies reach out to me by email and say, would you promote our product to your viewers? And I always get a kick out of the products that are suggested. So I call this little segment, Should I Sell Out? ? Should I sell out? This week, the things that were offered to me to sell to you included wireless. They include wireless microphones, which is kind of relevant-ish. A video game called Warhammer. Maybe I told you guys about that one already. Energy drinks. I don't know why they think I need energy, man. I got plenty of coffee in my system. But anyways, I get pitched a lot of energy drinks to pitch to you guys. And a product to help with women's hormonal balance. That was pitched to me recently. The same company emailed me twice about that. So with any of those products coming from me, would that interest you? At the moment, my answer is no. I'm not going to sell out to video games, energy drinks, wireless mics, or women's hormonal balance. But never say never. Hey, quick reminder before we get into our octave exercise. Don't forget to vote in our poll. We got 44 of you watching at the moment. Our poll question is, and I want to say it the exact way it's written here. Okay, there we go. Our poll question: do you care if your neighbors hear you play the guitar? The options include: no, I have no neighbors. Wow, I was joking. A lot of you have no neighbors. That's interesting. Another answer is yes, I do care because I need my privacy to play. The majority of you say, I don't care, I'm fearless. I like that. And a very small percentage are concerned if your neighbors hear you play because your neighbor is better than you are. Okay, so at the moment, in the lead, 56% of you say, no, I don't care, I'm fearless. In second place, 20% of you say, yeah, I need privacy. I don't want my neighbors to hear me play. Third place, by a hair, by a whisker, 19% of you say, I don't care because I have no neighbors. Oh boy, I'm sure that's a lot of you have no neighbors. How did you pull that one off? You live up in a tree house or something? That's good. I mean, see if you can keep it that way. That's great. In terms of cranking up your amp nice and loud and playing. And 5% of you say, yes, I do care because my neighbor is better than me. I didn't know what to expect. When I threw out that question. A to Z Me says, I live in the deep woods. The birds don't seem to mind. Beautiful. Okay, so Scott, I see your suggestion for a play-along song. I'm open to suggestions. Like I said, one of my criteria is, of course, I want it to be a famous song or relatively famous. Number two, I want it to be as clear as possible, such as the 4-chord repetitive nature of With or Without You by U2. Okay, octaves. We're going to use the Kinks song, You Really Got Me, You Really Got Me, as our example. Is it the only example? No. But we got to start somewhere. Okay. The word octave, you're playing 2 notes with the same name, a high version and a low version. Okay, that's what an octave means, especially for our purpose right here. 2 notes, the same name, a high version and a low version. If you've ever done a 3-finger power chord, you've played octaves. What we're going to do is we're going to remove the finger in the middle and only play the inside and outside strings. I'll explain. But for those of you who already play 3-finger power chords, you've got a head start on this. Hey, Chris, I see your name in the chat. Chris, did you get your book? I believe I mailed your book just recently. I hope it has arrived. If it hasn't arrived, it's going to get there very soon. But I think at this point, it's already arrived. Okay, so octaves are a cool challenge, and they're extremely useful because instead of playing a simple melody in a simple way, you can play the melody where you add the octave note, 1 octave higher, to each melody note, and it totally changes the vibe, and the melody doesn't feel kind of thin and weak anymore. I'll give you an example. Okay, so I chose You Really Got Me as an example of this. Good old Kinks, right? You really got me. Because it gives us 3 opportunities to work on this. Okay, so just so you know, the basic heart of You Really Got Me, the way the Kinks do it, is basically an F and G power chord alternating, ba-da-da-da-da, F, G, G, F, G, which later turns into a G and A switch, G, A, G, A, G, A, G, A, and later it turns into C, D, D, C, D. Then it keeps, ramping up before it starts over again. So it gives us 3 opportunities to do this technique. Okay. So the note F, index finger, 6th string, 1st fret, and F 1 octave higher, 4th string. That means the 4th skinny string, the D string, 3rd fret. If your guitar is in tune, those 2 notes should sound nice and happy together. Again, 6th string, 1st fret, 4th string, that's the D string, 4th string, 3rd fret. Okay, you could use your pinky on that note instead of your ring finger. I'm going to leave that up to you. I believe I use my ring finger out of habit, but you could use your pinky. Okay, so that takes care of your left hand. We have a low F and a higher F. Now, your right hand, your pick, definitely do this with a pick. You're going to say, oh, I'm just going to use my thumb and my pointer. Nah, use your pick because it creates a cool effect. The 5th string gets muted out. How do you mute out the 5th string? Let your pointer finger be a little bit lazy. And I mean that in a good way, like, ooh, you get to relax your pointer finger just a tiny bit. And that will help you intentionally deaden out the 5th string, the A string. So with my pick, I'm going to lightly brush the 6th, the 5th, which is dead, and the 4th. And I'm now playing F in octaves. Move up 2 frets, I got G in octaves. F and G. By the way, my ring finger is being extra lazy. I'm actually letting my ring finger lightly touch all the strings. I'm not doing an official bar. In fact, you could say it's the opposite because I'm being lazy. I'm letting the skin just touch the strings. I know it might look like I'm doing an actual bar. If I show you from that angle, see how my index finger is like lightly curved a little bit? Here's what a bar would look like. See how flat that looks? Okay. But don't think of this as some new challenge. Like I said, it's finally an opportunity to just, instead of pushing my wrist out like this, I'm letting my wrist relax. That would be a good way to describe it as well. My index finger, I don't care what else it touches. All my pressure, those on the 6th string. Now, you don't have to go that fast. We're just using You Really Got Me as an example. I'm trying to get rid of any buzzing. That's better. With enough distortion, buzzing doesn't matter anymore. There's the G to A. That was this one, G going to A. C to D, I'm going to drop my hand down 1 string. This C to D version, index finger, 3rd fret on the 5th string, the A string, ring finger, 5 on the 3rd string. Those are both C's, and that gets moved up 2 frets to become D's. And again, you don't have to go that fast, but just an excuse to practice octaves, okay? Again, don't do it with your thumb and your index. I have no doubt that you're capable of that. It's not that it sounds horrible, but no. But I want to push you to do it with a pick, because then you work on your ability of your index finger to intentionally dampen out stuff, so it's worth it. Hey, I see some more super chats coming in. Thank you, guys. It's very generous of you. Thank you, Bill, and thank you, Bruce. I appreciate that. Thanks. Okay, so it just so happens that I picked a song that I know is kind of fast. It popped into my head. Okay, let me give you another example of a song that uses octaves. And this is actually, I'm pretty sure this is how I first became aware of this concept. Bear with me for a second. Okay, Stevie Ray Vaughan had an album called Sky is Crying. And on the Sky is Crying is his version of a Kenny Burrell tune called Chitlins Con Carne. And he played the melody using octaves. And I thought, well, that's cool. I'd never done octaves before. So I thought, well, why not? Here's how it would have sounded if he did it not using octaves. It would have sounded like. I mean, it's okay, right? Little groove. With the octaves, listen how it thickens things up. The volume here. Compared to Stevie Ray Vaughan playing a trio, right? Guitar, bass, and drums. There's no one else there. He's got to make as full a sound as possible. Okay. By the way, I'm in the description of this video. I'll put a link to Kenny Burrell's original, one of my favorite guitar players of all time, Kenny Burrell, Burrell, Kenny Burrell. And then I'll put a link to Stevie Ray Vaughan's cover of the tune, also very cool. So that was how I learned about octaves. I chose to teach it to you guys using this Kinks thing. I could have showed you with this. It's just that it's one smidgen harder, a little more movement. We could do it someday, but don't wait for me. If you listen to Stevie Ray Vaughan's cover and you think, oh, what a groovy tune, there's got to be instructional videos out there on YouTube teaching Stevie Ray Vaughan's version of it. So octaves. At the moment, I'm keeping you guys focused on the 6th and 4th strings and the 5th and 3rd strings. But technically, you can find ways of doing octaves on any combination of strings. Realistically, though, it's always going to be 2 strings with a muted string in between. Sometimes you might have to reach further than others. If I were to do an octave, I'm going to do a C octave on the 1st and 3rd. 1st string 8 with my pinky, 3rd string 5 with my index. A little bit of a bigger reach, right? From 5 up to 8. And again, that has to do with how the G-B string relationship throws off everything. What a cool sound, I probably will revisit this topic of octaves in the future. But this is the first lesson thing that came to mind. Okay, so octaves, great for your fretting hand because it's a little bit of a stretch, especially if you do index and ring. a little bit of a stretch, and also a reminder that if you mute out strings intentionally, you're advanced. If you mute out strings unintentionally, you are a beginner, so to speak, right? The same muting intentionally makes you an advanced player. It's ironic. But yeah, muting out strings intentionally is a really important technique. So this gives you a chance to start thinking about that. And whether you use your ring finger or your pinky, it gives that finger some good responsibility. And anytime, you guys know, I assume most guitar teachers, all guitar teachers, are going to push you to develop your confidence and strength and dexterity of your ring and pinky fingers. Because for most of us, we didn't do much with those fingers until we started playing the guitar, right? Unless some of you are great typists, and you guys, maybe you were typing, for a million years. Yeah, Charlie, you're asking a good question. Charlie says, what about muting the string by having your ring finger touching it? If you can do that consistently, go for it. All that matters is that it's muted. That does not come naturally to me. What comes naturally to me is like just being a little relaxed and have my index finger muted out. if you have a nice fleshy tip on your ring finger and that comes naturally to you, yeah, go for it. I would say that's an example of something where guitar players can get the same effect 2 different ways, and no one cares except guitar teachers who like are curious about stuff like that, you know. So yeah, whatever it takes, whatever it takes. Willie says, the poll of the night, the poll question of the night should have had an option about your neighbors calling the cops on you. Oh, Willie, did that happen to you? That's no fun. It reminds me of a joke, though. The joke, what's the setup? You know, a couple of people are hanging out. One guy has a saxophone. It's the middle of the night. And the other guy says, you know what time it is? And the guy with the saxophone says, I don't, but hold on. And he's just blasting away in his saxophone. And from across the street, the neighbor's like, it's 2 a.m. Shut up. I was like, okay, it's 2 a.m. But something like that. Something like that. Okay, you guys. Hey, bear with me. I'm gonna wet my whistle, and I'm gonna check off a few things for my checklist. Lyman Orchards, Middlefield, Connecticut. Pretty good stuff. Okay, we talked about octaves. We talked about getting disoriented on purpose. We talked about Sweet Jane. We talked about the poll question. Excellent. I have a dumb question of the night. Maybe we'll end on that. 2 things. Okay. We'll talk about the dumb. There's a bunch of things we haven't done yet. Oh my God. Okay, I'll make these fast. You guys have stuck around for so long. Okay, so hopefully this will be worth sticking around for. A couple of things to think about. My own dumb question of the night. I'll make it fast. Why do we need to know the names and notes of the fretboard? I mean, seriously, you can make so much good music and not know the names and notes in the fretboard. And I'll give you a great example. We did Sweet Jane. Some of you, maybe a lot of you, watched what I did, saw the numbers. You're up and running. You're playing it. Maybe you already know how to play it. Does not even register with you the names of any of that, but you're playing Sweet Jane and sounding great. Maybe you know the name of the pointer finger note, the root note, but it never occurred to you to even think about the name of the ring finger note because it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, you know? So that's my dumb question of the night. Do you really have to know the names of every note up and down, you know, the fretboard? And just to play devil's advocate, knowing the name of everything, it's not going to make bar chords easier. It's not going to make finger picking easier. It's not going to make your left hand, your fretting fingers faster, right? If your guitar had stickers that told you the name of everything, it's not going to help you. You know, the names don't help you, right? Kind of a dumb question, but I mean, of course you want to know the names of stuff, man. You got to, you know, it's your guitar. It totally helps you, right? If you knew, oh man, you know the notes on the skinny first string, well then you know how to take your F chord and play major chords up and down the neck. As long as you know the name of the note in the skinny string, that's the root note of the F chord, and you can play. You can play entire riffs as long as you know where to go, just by knowing the names of the notes on the first string, for example. Okay, so is it a dumb question? Yeah, it's a dumb question, but I don't know, it gets you thinking. And I wonder if it's 50-50. Maybe we'll make that a poll question someday. Some of you are made it a point to learn the names of everything up and down the neck, every note all over the fingerboard. Even if it takes you a minute, you can calculate, you can figure it out relatively quickly. Maybe you count back from the 12th fret, or you have your own ways of doing it. That's a priority to you. Great. And I know there's some of you who are like, look, man, I just want to have some fun. I don't want to turn this into a crazy like anatomy lesson of like taking apart the guitar and reverse engineering and figuring out what B flat, you know. So someday I'll make that a poll question. Okay, that's my dumb question of the night. Making guitars out of wood. Hey, if you guys have guitars made out of wood, and I'm guessing 99% of you do, maybe there might be one of you who has a carbon fiber guitar or something. I am, this is a little bit of a clickbait kind of subject, but it's easy for me to imagine, especially electric guitars, no longer being made of wood. Because why? You know, pickups, amplifiers, technology that can create sounds to make, you know, whatever amplifier you have sound like a much fancier, more expensive amplifier. That technology is only getting better and better and better. Some of you have those like little modeling amps, right? Some version of a modeling amp, whether it's a little Spark thing or a Fender amp that has all sorts of built-in stuff. It's only going to get better and better to the point where, you know, your $100 piece of equipment, you know, in a blindfold test, I'm guessing, I'm predicting it's going to get harder and harder for anybody to know whether your thing was $100 or $10,000 because it's some vintage thing that Jimi Hendrix played. You know, it's going to get harder and harder to tell. With all that technology being able to create amazing sounds, the exact wood, if any wood, that your guitar is made out of is going to become less and less important. They'll always exist, but it's easy for me to imagine, especially with electric guitars now, with electrics, that it's going to be like a point of pride, like, you know, my guitar is made out of mahogany, and everyone else is going to be made out of what? Not mahogany, not real wood, you know, because it's still going to sound great. Again, I'm talking about electric guitars specifically at the moment. It's going to sound great because of what is happening after you strum the strings, the amazing pickups, the amazing amplifier with all sorts of processing happening. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. There's a lot of trees that aren't going to get chopped down, you know, but it's easy to imagine. I don't feel like I'm going out on much of a limb, but I'm not going out on a limb to tell you that wooden electric guitars are not going to be around forever. There's just going to be no need. It's going to be cheaper and easier to make them out of other stuff, and they're going to sound amazing. And there's going to be a certain percentage who'll be like, nothing sounds as good as my 1985 da-da-da, or my 2011 da-da-da, made out of maple, made out of whatever. Acoustic guitar, a little bit tricky. Although so many acoustic guitars get plugged in. As soon as you plug in your acoustic guitar, you enter a world where your acoustic guitar can sound amazing thanks to computer technology. But a pure acoustic guitar, that's a little bit trickier. It's easier for me to imagine a wooden acoustic guitar being the main acoustic instrument. It's harder for me to imagine carbon fiber or some alternative completely replacing a wooden acoustic guitar. By the way, you ever notice how there's lots of relic electric guitars? You never see relic acoustic guitars, right? Like, whoa, man, that acoustic guitar looks so beat up, but it's brand new. Oh, you know, I don't know if there's any market for that. I mean, I'm not talking about something maybe that doesn't have a glossy finish. It has a matte finish. I'm talking about like literally the way they relic a new electric guitar to make it look 60 years old. I've yet to see a relic acoustic guitar. I think the market for that is different. Why? Well, because I think the conventional wisdom is the exact wood of an acoustic guitar, the type of wood and the condition of the wood really affects the sound a lot. And the fact that you have an acoustic guitar that's been dinged and banged and scraped intentionally, I don't see that ever becoming a selling point, but time will tell. But yeah, if you guys ever see a relic acoustic guitar, you let me know. I don't see it. Deborah says, have I played the bass guitar? I have played the bass guitar. I got one in the other room. I played the bass guitar in an old-fashioned big band, music from like the 30s and 40s. They needed a bass player desperately, and they wouldn't take no for an answer. I tried. I explained that I really was a 6-string guitar player and a drummer. They needed a bass player. I explained that I had made in Mexico Fender bass, not a cool upright bass. They wouldn't take no for an answer. So for quite a few years, every Tuesday night, my wife and I would go to, typically it was a local restaurant, and she would sit and hang out and have some dinner, and I would sit there with a band. It was so fun. It was so fun. The music was so good. All, Glenn Miller, Artie Shaw, all the great big band music. And there's Jonathan, boom, 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 boom. I was faking it, not gonna lie, but I practiced a lot. And I got much better at the bass. And I just hung in there. It was so much fun. The music was so good. The band was 4 saxes, 4 trombones, 4 trumpets, guitar, bass, and drums. And I was almost like in the middle of the whole group, not the exact center, but I was in the thick of it. Man, nothing like horns. Oh, what a I have no words to have a horn section. Well, it wasn't a horn section. I mean, the band was horns. We were the rhythm section. To be in the middle of that and hearing those horns playing just classic, beautiful swing music. Yeah, good times. And then the guitar player couldn't do it anymore, and I took over on guitar, and I'd met a guy who played upright bass, so I got him to take over my job on bass. Very fun. Willie says, what wood is this guitar made out of? This is made out of alder. I have a Telecaster made out of ash. So I thought, well, I'll go with the alternative to ash. I'll go with alder for this custom guitar because I already have one made out of ash. And so I thought, well, let's shake things up. So that was one of the things I did kind of intentionally, not because I had a specific love for alder, but I just knew that it was extremely common for Telecaster type guitars to be made out of each. So now I have one of each. Okay, now I'm going to wrap up in a minute, you guys. Okay, last thing, and this is a subject that I do intend to come back to, but this is something that's extremely important to me, and I want to share it with you guys because it's something that there's 39 of you watching right now. I'm going to take a wild guess. The subject I'm about to bring up is near and dear to the hearts of 38 of you. Chasing songs. Chasing songs is when you find yourself day after day, practice session after practice session, hopping from one song to the next, checking it out, seeing how easy or hard it is, doing the best you can, getting to a certain point, going on to another song, trying out that song, going online, find the tab, printing it out, working on it. Next day, different song, find a YouTube video, Party Marty. Oh, by the way, you guys, months ago, you mentioned Party Marty. And I stumbled across a Party Marty, like two Party Marty videos. Actually, someone sent me a link. One of my students said, oh, I want to learn these songs. Here's a guy teaching me. It was Party Marty. And Party Marty was not what I expected. But I did watch his videos, and now I know who Party Marty is. So I'm in the loop now. Okay, chasing songs. It's a little bit exhausting, right? It's a little bit exhausting because you are ambitious. You have your favorite songs. You have your favorite YouTubers who teach the songs. You go to Ultimate Guitar. Maybe you paid for the paid version of Ultimate Guitar. You print out, the tabs, or you have other services that can get you the music, and you're chasing song after song after song, and you might be a little bit frustrated. And so I'm here to tell you that you're not crazy. That's a frustrating approach. It's an understandable approach. I'm on your side here, but you can't keep chasing songs and getting frustrated. You can't keep that up forever. Even though we all want to play our favorite songs, including me. Yeah, I get it. Okay, so what am I proposing here? You got to bite the bullet, take a step back, and work on your skills. Every one of your practice sessions has to involve something outside of your favorite song, something that is making you physically a better guitar player. What am I going to say? Say it with me. Scales, arpeggios, picking exercises with your picking hand, assuming you're using a pick. Finger picking exercises, if that's your jam, you got to do a certain percentage of that. You can't just chase song after song. You want to prepare yourself to play all your favorite songs. But how are you going to do that? You can't get good at songs from playing songs. Does that make sense? You get good at songs by getting all these skills together and then applying them to songs. Are there exceptions? Oh, sure. But my feeling is that many of my students and a certain percentage of you guys, which I'm guessing is a high percent, need to hear that you're not crazy. It's very frustrating chasing songs. You're not crazy. There is a solution, and the solution is a nice program, a nice set of exercises and challenges that will enable you to play lots of songs, So, and we're going to revisit this subject. I'm going to give you some specific suggestions, but I mean, you guys know I'm totally into that Mel Bay book of scales, chords, and arpeggios, especially your fretting hand, right? You got to get those fingers stronger, faster, more dexterous, right? That's going to make all the songs easier. It's not a sexy thing to sit and do a scale up and back, up and back, up and back. Triple check that you're staying consistent with your fingering. Triple check to see that you're staying consistent with your down up picking. I get it. No one's going to walk by you when you're practicing something like that and say, oh man, I had to stop and sit and listen to you practice that scale, man. Oh man, I was tapping my foot. Love it. I know that's not the response you're going to get, but I feel obligated to tell you, oh yeah, there's an alternative to constantly chasing songs. So if we said you got an hour, if you spent half an hour doing like muscle building, even though that's not the best term for it, but half an hour doing a set of skill building stuff, and then use the remaining half an hour for like one or two relevant songs, to me, that's like, oh, that's gold. That's how you do it. You'd have to pick the exercises carefully. You'd want to pick the songs carefully because ideally they'd mesh together, right? You get what I'm saying? Okay, so we will revisit this topic. I know it's closing time here. We'll revisit this topic of chasing songs because I'm on your side. Don't forget, I want you to play every song, all your favorite songs, all of them. I want that so much that I don't want you to run to a brick wall and stop playing briefly, stop playing forever, whatever. We got to head that off at the pass. We got to interrupt that cycle. Maybe the songs that you're choosing are not easy songs, and it's not clear what would be an easier song. So, you know what? I'm going to close on this note. I'm going to throw this up so you guys can come back and pause on this moment. The list of songs that we've done here, all these play along songs that we do. Do I have that list handy? I often do. We have done dozens of these songs, and I want you guys to know that I choose these songs carefully. Do I have it handy? Oh, you know what? Let's do it this way. Check this out. Oh, man. Okay, I'm going to do that thing again where I share the screen, and you guys are going to say, wait, the screen just went black. And I'm going to say, sit tight. Okay, so I do expect the screen to go black right now. Okay, so check this out, you guys. When this comes up, I know, give it a minute. Don't freak out. Okay, give this a minute and look at all those songs in alphabetical order. Holy moly, you guys. Some of you have done all of these with me. Now, these are songs that I highly recommend, okay? Can you guys see this okay? Somebody put that in the chat. Let me know that you can see these okay. Deborah, I see you asking about doing a live stream lesson for swing music for the guitar. Yeah, we could do that. Definitely. Great idea. Don't let me forget that. See if you can remind me about that. Okay. So can you guys see that okay? This list of songs. I'm going to scroll a little bit. There's the name of the song, and then next to it in parentheses is the live stream where we did that song. So for instance, top of the list, Ain't No Sunshine, Bill Withers, came from live stream number 51. Here on my YouTube channel, I have a playlist of all my live streams. You don't have to, you just go to that playlist. That's where all these live streams are collected. Okay, look at all those songs, you guys. These are amongst the easiest, clearest, most accessible songs in popular music. Now, you guys know I have a little bit of a bias towards the music that I grew up with, which is a lot of classic rock, but there's a few country tunes in here. There's a few folk songs in here. Okay, so if you're chasing songs and each one is frustrating, you're not getting anywhere, use this list as a reference point, okay? And of course, you can come back to this moment in the live stream, then the live stream, come back once we're done, and you can revisit this part right here. Look at all those songs. We got Beatles tunes, Grateful Dead, blues, Tom Petty, obviously classic rock, a lot of good stuff there. And you know what? There's more to come. Whoops, you don't need that. There we go. There's more to come, right? All right, you guys. That's a pretty good note to end on, I would say, right? I'm going to stop sharing there. All right. We got to a lot of stuff, okay? There's always, one or two things that we didn't get to, but we got to a lot of stuff. You have a good time? I hope you did. Next Saturday, it's good for me. Is it good for you? Next Saturday, same time, same place. If I missed one of your questions, I'm sorry. Ask it again next time. You can always email me, info@song-bike.com. Don't forget, head over to my website, song-bike.com, and get yourself a free copy of the Blues Guide. It's free. It gets emailed to you. It's a PDF that gets emailed to you instantly. If you are going to shop at Sweetwater, use the affiliate link. I put it in the chat, but it's also in the description of this video. Buy yourself a little bit of something. Your purchase will go to support this live stream if you get to Sweetwater by using the affiliate link. Okay, my weekend begins now. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you had a good time. I will see you next Saturday. Be well. Hope you have a chance to play a guitar. Have a nice Sunday. Hope some or all of you have a day off tomorrow. I'll see you next week. All right, you guys. Take care.